Masechta Bava Basra, Daf Kufay Amar Aleph. We're starting from 4 lines in the bottom of Kuf Samachtes Amid Beis. Tanu Rabbanan. 4 lines in the bottom. Tanu Rabbanan haben gelernt. Haba Lida Bishto Uve Chazaka. Somebody who's coming to be Masbik Karka with the taina that he was koined from the previous buyers.
Before he sold it.
He was koined from the previous buyers.
He sold it, right? This guy sold it.
Yeah, so he said that this guy, the Leker sold it to him. He was koined from him, and he was koined with Sai with a Chazaka and Sai when he has a Shtam Mechira. So here we're talking about somebody who's Masibik Karka with the taina that he acquired it. The second line for the top, Taner Rabbanan. You have that? Amar Aleph. Second line, Ayin. So the Rabbanan had learned that somebody who comes and says he was Masik B'Karka with a Chazaka and with a star, Nidin B'Shtar, he's Zeichet through the star itself. Those are the words from Rabbi. Rabbi Shimon Gamil's Aima. Rabbi Shimon Gamil says he's Zeichet with the Chazaka. I'm going to see in different ways. Oh, what does that mean? There's many. Oh, so there's many ways of learning this machlekes. That others learn that the kavanah of Rabbi is learning shehein chazak vehein shtar kolach b'fnei atzma me'il l'raish asad shalai. Rabbi holds whether the chazaka, he made a chazak and he was there for 3 years in this field, or whether he wants to use that to be kainet, or whether he wants to use l'shtar mechir. It's good enough. Rabbi Shimon Gamil say that only the chazaka will help. But according to Maskonas Hagimara, the Kavanah. We're soon going to see. According to the Maskonas Hagimara, Rabbi says only the star helps, and according to Rabbi Shimon Gamil, he holds even the Chazaka will help. This is just now. This is like Chinese words for now. We're going to get to the Svaras and what the real machlekes is. Yeah, I'm just telling you there's a machlekes here. Says the Gemara, what are they arguing about? When Avdimi had come to Bava from Eretz Yisrael, they're arguing. Oisius means the letters, the words that are written in the star. When somebody gives those words of the star to somebody else, he acquires the field with that star. Who holds that? If I'm the seller, it's a kinyan. If I give you the star, it's like the deed. I'm giving you over the deed. So that's a kinyan. Rabbi Shimon Gamil Sava ein oisius niknois b'mesira. The oisius cannot be acquired, meaning by just giving over the star, you're not going to acquire it. What happened? What is it written? What's written in the star? That Reuben had sold to Shimon a field, and the Shimon has the field.
Okay.
Shimon takes that document that was given to him as sort of a deed, because Reuben, it says his name on it, and he gives it over to Levi, and Levi's kind of that way. So the Rebbe holds he's going to be kaina. Rabbi Shimon Gamil says no. You need a separate star stating that this star that Reuben that Shimon has, that Reuben sold to Shimon, in which it says Shimon's name, it was given over to Levi. So he wants Levi to acquire the field. So there's a separate, according to Rabbi Shimon Gamil, there has to be another star written. That this star in which it says Reuben sold to Shimon the field, which Shimon now wants to give over which Shimon wants to give over to Levi, there has to be another star, that star that was Reuben sold to Shimon, but Shimon is now giving it to Levi, that star.
So he's the owner
now Levi's the owner, even though in that star is written Shimon's name, but he has a separate star saying that the deed was given over to Levi.
Okay.
So you could, but this is what he's saying. It's going to be a kinyan. But Rabbi says, Rabbi argues, he says, you don't need to write a separate star. You just give over that the document and that's it. Abaye says, yeah. In Cain, if you were explaining the machlekes of Rabbi Shimon Gamil and Rabbi this way, plukta de lidimar, this Pirush that you gave contradicts what we said before. If you remember, Rabbi Shimon Gamil said that when Reuben gives Shimon a matana, and Shimon wants to give back the matana, Reuben gives Shimon a matana through a star. He gives him a star. Shimon gives back the star to Reuben. The matana is bottled
Right.
He doesn't have the matana anymore. It's considered give it back. So the day Rabbi Shimon Gamil says, why is it considered as giving back? Because the star in itself can make a kinyan. That document you gave me as matana, and I acquired matana with this document. I'm giving you this matana, which is because of the star. I'm giving it back to you, and it's always matana. That's one. And here Rabbi Shimon Gamil says the opposite. He says, how could it be? Says the Gemara, Rabbi Bacham is a big deal, a tidwig. I could argue with that person who said that Rabbi Shimon Gamil learned this way. I'm sorry, that Rabbi learned this way. I could learn. Rabbi Bacham says, I'm sorry, but that's Rabbi Shimon Gamil. Rabbi learned Rabbi Shimon Gamil before that Oisius is kainer. Rabbi Bacham learns. He says, I disagree in what Rabbi Shimon Gamil holds. I could argue with Rabbi. Rav Dimi says, no, that Rabbi Shimon Gamil holds it's not going to be a kinyan. Amalei, so Abai said to Rav Dimi, it's not so pashut. Rabbi was forced to learn pshat in Rabbi Shimon Gamil that it is a kinyan. Hachikam min Allah. He says, this was my kavanah telling you, Rav Dimi, that you cannot learn different than Rabbi what Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel holds. Because Masnisa loy metarza elikim metarza ma. He says the only way to learn pshat in Rabbi Shimon Gamliel that when Reuben gives Shimon a matana through the star, and the Brisa says Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says if he gives back the star, the matana becomes a matana. The only way to explain it is if you say that the oasis of the star by giving it over is a kinyan. And that, otherwise, why would the matana be ice? Right. So we are forced to learn. Rab is right. He says, how could you have even learn differently? Kasha Rabbi Shimon Gamil. We have a stira from Rabbi Shimon Gamil on Rabbi Shimon Gamil. This last Baraisa says, Befedish, Rabbi Shimon Gamil says that ein oisiyos niknis b'mesira. And the only way to learn the first Baraisa that talks about the matana where Reuben gave Shimon and Shimon gives it back, there we said Befedish, the only way to learn it is that he holds Oishes Niknis b'Masira. So the Gemara El Am Abai, only Abai says the second Baraisa is a different shot. It's not talking about giving over a stab which is not his name to him. Meaning, over here, we're not talking about that the way this person was going to acquire the Sada was by the first Lakeah giving the star which is in his name to Levi. Even though it doesn't say Levi's name. No, it's talking about a star that Shimon gave a real star. Shimon writes, like Saul wanted to say before, that he gives him a new star. Shimon is writing in the star that I am selling my field to you, Levi, and he acquires it like that, and everybody holds it's a kinyan. But here it's different. What was the machlokes about? That the Adam that was signed at that star, one of them was a karev or a pasleidus, yeah, or a puzzle. Or his puzzle. And they're arguing in the machlekes of Rav Meir and Rav Elazar. Rav Meir and Rav Elazar argue by a get. When it says because of law, Sefer Krisus, what is because of law referring to? To the Mesiras Haget, to the giving over, to the Ksiva, giving over the writing of the get. The man giving the Isha the writing of the get, and that's how she gets divorced. And that's the because of law. It's going on the Ksiva. Or like Rav Meir, no, the Kasala goes on the Chsimas Haget. So this is what they're arguing. Rabbi Saba, Rabbi holds that the main part of the krisus of the get is by giving over the document, the paper which has the aces, the story, not the chsima. So even though in the chsima there's karig there, that's not the part that makes the krisus. What makes the krisus? The him giving over that see how the husband gave over the get to the isha. But Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says it's possible if you have an 8 that's possible on the get. What makes the get that the isha should be cut off from the husband? The chsima of the get, and the chsima said on the get. So if one of the edim are possible or cut off, so therefore Rabbi Shimon Gamliel said it's possible, it's no good. But what are you talking
How do
about?
we touch on the under Machlokas here?
Very simple. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says it's not going to be, when he says it has Eid Chazaka, right? And Ksivas HaShtar, Eid Chazaka is not enough. You need the writing of the Shtar, the Ksivas HaShtar. Huh? Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. And Rabbi says either one is good. Rabbi says either one is good because the Eid Chazaka is good enough. It's like the Eid Mesira. The Eid Mesira, that's like the Eid Mesira. That's all you need.
So he doesn't hold like Rabbi holds the
Rabbi Shimon Gamliel holds Dafka the Eid. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says that if he's just going to have Eid Chazaka, it's not going to be good enough. You're going to have also the Shtar with the Chsimis. Zog the Gemara, how could you say that? Omar Rabbi Abba had said that even according to Rabbi Lezer, who says the main part of the Shtar, the main part of the Krisus is the Eid Mesira, Rabbi Abba had said befeidish even though the Chsina is not what makes the Krisus, but if you have any part of the Shtar which is Mizuya from inside the Shtar,
It's not perfect.
which is it's gefalshavit, which is mamish not good because it's possible or it's a cutter. So then the whole Shtar is worthless.
Is that krisus?
Even though that's not the part that makes the krisus. But if there's any defect in the Shtar, the whole Shtar is nifsal. So you can't say they're arguing if the Shtar is going to be kosher with an 8 puzzle or not. Even Rabbi Lezer will hold if there's an 8 puzzle, the Shtar, the get is puzzle. So what's the machlekes between Rabbi Shimon Gamliel and Rabbi Meir? You can't give this as an example. Elam Rabbi Avina, rather Rabbi Avina says like this. Hakol Meidim, everybody is in agreement. Sai Rabbi Samar Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Shem Kosoboy, that it Bezdin wrote, Huskaknu le'edus son shel edus, that we checked out these edim, the kosher edus. No, they checked out these edim. No, fakir. V'nimtzei seidusam mizuyafes, and we found them to be falsha edim, apostle edim, shehu puzzle. Then the shtar is going to be puzzle. K'dei Rabbi Abba. Like Rabbi Abba said, any shtar that's mezuyit b'teichai, even if you hold Eid Mesira Kasa, it's not going to help. It's going to be puzzle. Loi nechleku. Rather, where's the machlekes between Rabbi and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel? Ela b'shtar she'ein alav Eidim klal. We're talking about a shtar has no Eidim. By any star, a get v'hu adin kol star. The same thing applies to any star. And there was no Eidim Chsumah on it. And according to Rabbi Lezer, the whole purpose of having Eidim Chsumahim, because let's say the Eidim Mesira went to Chutz La'aretz, or maybe the Eidim Mesira died. So you have the Eidim Chsumah as a takana to testify that the Eidim Mesira, what the Eidim Mesira said, that they saw that the husband gave the get to the Isha. But according to Rabbi Lezer, you don't need the Eidim Chsumah. But here, what are they arguing about? There was no Eidim Chsumah whatsoever. The Rabbi Saba like Rabbi Lezer, the Amma Eid Mesira Kase. Rabbi holds like Rabbi Lezer, Eid Mesira is what makes the get for a get, and that's it. And therefore, the Machzik doesn't have to bring Eidim on his Chazaka.
What kind of get is that without Eidus?
No, but the Mesira is it.
Why is Eid Mesira? It's written in the story.
There's Eid Mesira that he gave a get.
He gave a get. There's no Eidach Sim in the get itself. That's not. Rabbi Lezer holds. And the main thing is Eidach Mesira. That's what.
But there has to say that this is a get. This has to be a get.
Yeah.
No
Right. Yeah. And the same thing, any star. You don't need Eidus. The main thing is you don't need it over here. We're talking about Chazaka. You don't need. He says, and the Machzik doesn't have to bring Eidim on his Chazaka. If he was there 3 years, even though he doesn't have a star, that's going to be good enough. That's how the Rashbam wants to learn it over here. But that the Eidim that are Chsumah on the get, that gives the strength of the star. Not the Eidim Mesira. And that's why in our case you cannot be Machshir the star just based on the Eidim Mesira.
You need a chazaka.
You need a chazaka, right? Rebbe will hold that Eidim Mesira Kasa. That's good enough. So therefore, the star is good enough.
We don't need a come onto the chazaka.
Huh? And we don't need to come onto the chazaka. But Rabbi Shimon Gamliel holds like Rabbi Meir that Eidich Simmer Kasa, and if you don't have the the star, it's not going to be good. And that's why now you can't be machshir the star mikoich the mesira. That's why the machzik has to bring Eidim. The machzik will have to bring Eidim that he had a chazaka. According to the machzik will not have to bring Eidim that he had a chazaka because he has a star. And even though there's no signatures on the star, that's fine. According to Rebbe, he holds like Rebbe Lezer. According to Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, he says no. You're not going to get away without bringing Eidim for your chazaka because the star is no good. You need the chazina is what gives the strength of the star. Okay, if you want, I could tell you another answer. He says, what's the machlokes between Rebbe and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel in the second baraisa? Rebbe and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel are arguing where a person was made that the star was written, that the star that he pulled out against him, either so, and if he pulls out the star, he's still going to have to verify the star or not. The Rebbe he says, the chlal star, you're not chishud that it's mezuyev, unless
there's Aedis on it, right?
No, even without Aedis. He's talking about Meida B'Shtasha. Yeah, there are Aedis, but you're going to have to verify the Eidim or not. Yeah, of course there is the Aedis. The Shaila is, but you have to verify the Eidim or not. Meaning, because he's going to taina that he paid it up, right? Or he's going to taina he wrote it to sell, but he didn't actually sell it yet. He lost it before he could even do the sale. So, therefore, according to Rebbe says, no, he can't. It's not a pesha so a pesha. You can't say, since the star has to be verified, and he verified it, you have to believe the end of the story. If he say just like he made the star for a star, because he was made that the star was written, so he made the kiyum, so too believe him that he never gave over the star to the lekeach. He wrote it to sell it to the lekeach, but before he had a chance, he lost it, and he never the sale never really took place. So you have to learn apesha so apesha eats it. But according to Rabbi,
aren't you trying to explain the machlokes before between Rebbe and Rabbi Shimon?
This is the
Rebbe
Rebbe
said if you have a star, it's good. You don't need the chazaka.
Rebbe says the star will be good enough
Because
you don't have to make the star. A star is automatically valid unless somebody is teveya that it's a false star.
Okay.
Here, that's not what's happening. Here, the guy is agreeing the star is a good star. We don't need his agreement. We're saying, because he made the star for a star being mekaymed, so believe him that the star was not given over to Lekeach. He only wrote it to sell it to Lekeach, but he didn't get a chance to sell it to him, and he lost it. So here, Rebbe says we don't go for that, because by saying that he was made of the star is a pesha also, he made it into a star. He didn't. It was a star without him saying anything. So therefore, he has to bring Eidei Chazaka.
Who says that? Rebbe? Rebbe doesn't say that.
No, he says the star is good enough. The star is good enough, and if the star is a good star, right? Without him arguing, even though he's going to say he never gave it over to him, we're not going to believe him. It's like it's mekuyim. It's not a pesha, so a pesha either. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Sava tzarich hamachzik lekaimai. The machzik has to be mekayim the star, and therefore the star is not a raya. The star is not going to be a raya because it's based on he made the stars. Who made the star as a good star? The Malva made the star, or the Meicha made the star for a good star. But in the same way that he made the star for a good star, he's making it a star. He says, I did write the star to sell it to the Lekeach, but I never got a chance to sell it. I lost it before I had a chance to do the transaction, and he found it. So therefore, the star is not good enough. And so therefore, you're going to need the Chazaka. So look what happened. But we learned just the opposite. Here you said that Rebbe holds made the b'shtar shekalsu ain't tzarech l'kaimai, and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says tzarech l'kaimai. We're going to learn in the brayso the reverse. Where do we see that? The Tanya that we learned in the brayso shnaim adeik b'shtar, two people who are holding on to a star. Bava in shalihu, benafel memeini. The same. The Gemara is going to say the Malva says it's my star and it fell for me. Yeah. And the Leiba says, yeah, the star I gave it to you mit chilam, and it's not mezuyit. But I already paid, and the star fell for me. So they're both arguing. Somehow the Malva has to verify the signatures of the star. So who says tzarich lekaimai? And Rebbe said before, ain't tzarich lekaimai. And look, he says you divide the chayv between the equally. So it comes out that Rebbe would hold that after you would leave Mekayim the star, that the Malva would be able to collect the whole star. In fact, how could you say that? But we're going to get to the raya soon, the kasha. But you want to ask, how could you say that Rebbe will hold that he collects the whole star after the kiyum? But let's later, Rebbe hold it not. Doesn't Rebbe hold what we learned in the Mishnah Bava Tzia? Shnaima is metalla, zeh manim is asiyah, zeh manim is asiyah. Zeh yishav shein lebapach mechatzia, zeh yishav shein lebapach mechatzia. Two people are holding on to a star. Each one says, I found it. Each one has to swear he doesn't have less than half, and we say the achleiku, they divide it. And Rava said, in the name of Rav Nachman, in answer to this question, because l'chayre you see, it's just like by a talis, it's not missing kiyum or whatever. There's kiyum, and you say even though it's kiyum, but since they're both holding on to it, you divide it. So by Shnaim Adek Mishtar, how could you say if you Makayim one guy gets the Malak is able to collect the whole thing? So here we're talking about that the star was Mekuyim, and the Kuli Amaloi Pligian, everybody is in agreement. Even the side of his side, the Achleiku, that you divide it. Kid Pligi, where is Rabbi? And I'm Shimon arguing, Bishtar She'ena Mekuyim. By a star that's not Mekuyim. Rabbi Sava made the Bishtar Sheksava Tzarich Lekaimai, the opposite of what we said before. That you have to be Mekayim al Pi Eidim in order to collect. And if not, he's not going to be able to collect even 1 penny. That's how Rabbi learns. But Rabbi will agree, but once you verify it, Gavi Palga, then you can collect that. Not that the pshat is that if he verifies it, he can collect the whole thing. No. And if he doesn't verify it, you collect half. No. If you don't verify it, then it's a chasva be'almu. He can't collect a penny. If you verify it, then he can collect half. Gavi Pavi loy, and if he's not the kind of Aiden, chasva be'almu. It's a shtickle cheres. It's cheres be'alma, and it's not considered as a shtar. But Rav Shimon Gamil Sava made the b'shtar sheksava. Rav Shimon Gamil holds. One was made of the star that it was written, ain't Tzarich Lekaimai, the opposite of what we said before. Before we said, according to Shimon Gamil, Tzarich Lekaimai. Yachleiku, he says you don't have to be Mekaimet, and it's Yachleiku automatically. So we have a stira, says you have to reverse the second Baraisa.
We don't know which one, what they hold.
So now, so he says, you have to reverse the last Baraisa. And Shimon Gamil is the one that says, and Rabbi is the one that says, ain't Tzarich Lekaimai. Okay, so that's it. He says you have to reverse it. If you want, I'll tell you another way, another answer. How don't reverse the shitas. What's the machlekes here? They're arguing when you say a taina that's extra. That's not needed. So, Lamashal, over here he gives a case. The Brais is talking about he has a chazaka of 3 years. And Umemela, he's part of from showing a star mechira. Because the chazaka bedarf unhalten zum star. Once you have 3 years of chazaka, you don't have to hold on the star. But he says he has a chazaka, plus he has a star. So now they're arguing, will he have to prove and show the star? That's what. If he wouldn't have to prove it. This is a concept that if you say extra words, could we nail you on your extra words that we didn't even need you to say? That doesn't have to be fishy. You said you spoke too much. No, chazaka is stronger. He has a chazaka. He didn't have to show.
You want to rely on the chazaka because you don't want to rely on the shtar.
a star, he can tie its fouls, and then you have to bring Eidim and verify. It's a big hassle.
it's like
Here he has the two Eidim for the Chazaka. In a can of worms, sure. He said in addition to the Chazaka, he has a star mechira. So this is what they're arguing. Okay? So it's the Gemara that Rebbe holds, even though the Machzor B'Karka, it doesn't have to watch the star, right? He would have been Zeich Mitzat Chazaka. Nevertheless, since he said to Bezdin he has a star, he has to show it to Bezdin. That's what Rebbe holds. And Shimon Gamliel says, the star is nicht negei, he doesn't have to bring proof. And where do we see this? Yehud Rav Yitzchak Rav Yosef have a massive bezuzah. Rav Yitzchak Rav Yosef came to collect money by Rabbi Abba. Money that he gave him for Alva to Rabbi Abba. Also, Rav Yitzchak and Nafcha. They both came before Rav Yitzchak and Nafcha. Amalei. Rabbi Abba said to Rav Yitzchak Rav Yosef, Praticha b'fnei pleni. Rabbi Abba said, Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, he says, I paid already in front of these two Eidim. Amalei Rabbi Yitzchak, oh yeah? You paid in front of two Eidim? Yeah, you pleni. Bring those two Eidim, let them testify. Amalei, so Rabbi Abba says, what are you talking about? If I don't bring the Eidim, I'm not believed that I paid up. Well, if somebody lends in front of Eidim, he doesn't have to pay back in front of Eidim. Rabbi Abba is going to plate to spare. He says, I paid back in front of Eidim. He didn't have to say that because he's not mechuyev to pay back in front of Eidim. So Rabbi Abba was telling Rabbi Yitzchak and Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, you tell me to bring Eidim as if I don't bring the Eidim, I'm not believed. I don't have to pay back in front of Eidim. So Amalei, he says, I hold like you, Rabbi Abba. You forgot. Rabbi Abba said to him, if you said a plate is bad and you added which you didn't need to, we can enforce on whatever you said extra. Prove it. But if you said you paid in front of so and so, you know, don't say any extra words. And if you say extra words, be ready to substantiate.
You got to pay for it.
You got to.
Boys will tell you the same thing. Don't talk to them.
Okay. Amalei said, Rabbi Abba said to Rabbi Yitzchak, "V'homer Rabbi Gidol Amarav, halach did Rabbi Shimon Gamliel." But Rabbi Gidol Amarav said, Rabbi Gidol says in the name of Rav, no, the halach is like Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. That if he says extra words, you don't have to substantiate it. You don't have to verify it. Even Rebbe says it's only to prove, even though you're going to bring the Eidim and the Eidim won't be exactly like you said it. Rebbe says it doesn't matter. Just by bringing Eidim, showing that we're Eidim in the story, that's enough. He says, I also said that it's to be Mavara. He says you do have to be Mavara. He holds Gedas Rebbe that you have to be Mavara.
So what do they both hold? They what?
That
you
you
say extra words?
You have to be Mavara, but it doesn't have to be. It's even if the beer doesn't come out.
But the thing is,
But if he brought those Eidim, it's still going to be good enough. In fact, here he brings that even if the Eidim testify against.
Before he said you don't have to bring a so what did
Who said that?
But now
Rabbi
he's saying
Shimon.
that if he says extra words.
Rav Gidol said in the name of Rav that Allah is Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. If he says extra words, we don't have to substantiate it, right? So he says, even Rabbi says that you don't, right? But at the end he says, Rabbi Yitzchak Nachman says, "Anon nami levar kamina." He says, I also say it's only for beer. It's not a vital part of the get, but you have to be mavada. You have to. You're allowed to ask to bring the Eidim there, even if the Eidim won't line up exactly what he says. It won't be lined up with what he says. But the Etzem Zach, that part of the story came out right, that he brought the Eidim, that the Eidim were there. That's good enough.
Because he said
He said I brought in front of Eidim. Yes. Okay. Zok the Mishnah Misha part of Mixas Chayda is somebody who paid part of the Chayiv, and we're concerned maybe the Malva. Now the Bava has the Shtar Chayiv, and the later paid. Let's say in the Shtar it says that the Reuven owes Shimon $1,000. Reuven paid $500. So what do? Rabbi Yehuda Yachlif. You have to write over another Shtar, you exchange it, and now a new Shtar that says for $500. Rabbi Yossi, no, Yichtav Sheva, don't do a new Shtar. Give. Yeah, but this is the Mishnah. Rabbi Yossi says the Malva should give the labor Sheva receipt that the labor paid $500.
receipt.
Rabbi Yehuda nimtza zeh tzarich li yeshomer shevarim and achbarim. So now the lady is going to be so busy watching the star from the mice, the rats and the mice. It should eat it up because he needs that as proof. He paid up half.
Mice eat first or the rats eat
Well,
first?
they both the same family.
Those animals.
Amalei Rabbi Yossi. So Rabbi Yossi said, "Kach yafalei." He says this is good for the malva, because this will put a pressure on the labor to pay back the whole loan.
Yeah, this is
Well,
what
you don't want to hold on to the shayla. Pay it up. Pay up the rest, the other
then
500,
you'll take back the home.
and then you'll take back the whole stock.
Isn't it the same
And
thing?
and then the Ashbam even says more. Eved leiva lishmalva. Leiva is eved to the malva. This, if you want to become a eved, pay up the whole money that says in the stock.
What happened? What happened if he rises the star? He has to watch it also.
Huh?
The mice will also eat up the star too.
Yeah,
So what's the difference if it's a receipt or
you're
the
saying Asako Takashi. He's asking that the malva is holding on to the star also. So doesn't he have to also watch out for the mice? Mice and mice.
The
Takashi.
treasury is not a document that
Say
you
a
can
good
collect
Takashi.
with. It's only
I have to check it
proof
out.
that you paid.
Okay, I'll check it
When you
out.
have the shtar that the old house, that's a valuable thing. Then you put in the safe. The shaver,
No, it's not. It's a good kasha. There's no question. I gotta look it up. What?
They would have brought it up.
They both have to watch. No, the shaver paid $500. They're equal now.
No, but the original star. He's talking about the original star.
The original star should
He
also
has
be.
to watch it.
Who has to watch? The malva.
Yes.
And you're saying the labor has to. We're complaining about the labor. The labor's going to have to watch the shaver. Why? Because he paid up $500 and maybe mice will come to eat him. What about the malva holding on to the
Because he
star?
has to have proof that he paid back. The
Who?
The labor's gonna need proof.
He has it
But
started.
Malva da weisen a star to be able to collect. On the star, how's he going to collect the money?
It's like a receipt, babe.
We'll look it over. I'm sure listen, it says Pashta Kasha. Maybe it's a Pashta answer. Right now it hits very strong. That's all I'm saying. Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav. Rav Huna said in the name of Rav, Ein halacha Rabbi Yehuda, v'loich Rabbi Yossi. The halacha is not like Rabbi Yehuda, and nor is it like Rabbi Yossi. What does it mean not like Rabbi Yehuda? The main thing is Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda said the Edom themselves could rip up the first star and distribute a new star. The halacha is not like that. Ela bezdin mekanos hashtar. The Gemara, Rav Huna is saying against Rabbi Yehuda. Rav Huna says, how could Rabbi Yehuda say Edom don't reißen the star? Und sagt, bezdin hat the keich the star, achem is manishen, and they have the power to write the original zman that they should be able to be goyim in the chasim and shubadim. Because Edom that are doing a new thing, who are they to give such a power to the malva that he should be able to be goyim in the chasim and shubadim to write a zman from before?
How can they write now time and use a previous date?
Oh, so he says only Bezdin could do it. That's why he was arguing with Rabbi Yehuda. Amalei Rav Nachman, Rav Huna, Rabbi Yirmiyah, Rabbi Abba, Rav Huna. Ishmiya le Rav ha baraisa. If Rav would have heard this baraisa that Rav Huna says in the name of Rav, that only Bezdin can rip it, but if he would have heard this baraisa, he would have agreed Edom can do it too. The Tanya that we learned in the baraisa, Edom mikarin as hashtar. The Edom could be mikarei the star. Because loy star achem is manishrein. And they could predate it like in the first star and give the malva the koyach to be goyim in the chasim and shabadim. Have a hadabe. For sure, if Rav would have seen this baraisa, he would have retracted. Amalei, Rav Huna said to Rav Nachman, Shmialei. Rav does that baraisa in your head. He heard this baraisa, and he said, "V'lo hadabe." He still disagreed. He didn't retract. So the Gemara, why not? So he explains, Bishleima Beidina. I understand Bezdin could rip up the star and exchange the star and write an earlier date to give the malva the koyach to be going to chasm shabadim, because alimei laf kuyem amayna. Bezdin had the koyach to take out money from one person and give it to another. So they have the koyach to predate it and give the malva the koyach to be going to chasm shabadim. The Edom were only shluchim to do the first Maisa. Could they now go and do a new shlichus that has nothing to do with that? Who are you to go back and make a predate? and allowed the Malva to collect from the Chasm Shabbat from the earlier days. Surely the Edom don't have the right to write a second star with a predated earlier date. We'll stop here.